Can you fail your driving test for driving too slowly? Yes, you can. But what I want to do is go through some scenarios and a little bit of advice and tips on what to do and what not to do. So driving too slowly on the marking sheet usually, or always falls under the section progress. And you've got two elements beneath progress, which is appropriate speed and undue hesitation. So let's talk about appropriate speed first. So basically that means driving too slow. Now, on your driving test, the examiners want to see that you're capable of driving the appropriate speeds when it's safe to do so. So a classic is on dual carriageways, for example. It's usually a 70 mph road, and if it's safe to do 70, the examiner would expect you to do 70. An example of it being safe to do 70 is a nice hot summer's day. It doesn't have to be hot, in fact. The roads are nice and clear, there's no debris on the roads, there's no signs telling you otherwise, and the traffic is quite low. The examiner would expect you to be doing 70. So a lot of people would fail on this one for doing 60 in a 70 over a long period of time. And some people would say, well, it's only 60, come on. But if everyone drives 60 miles per hour, then it's going to cause more congestion on the roads, especially when it comes to motorways later. But also, the examiner can only mark you on what they see. So if you're doing 60 in a 70, you could be saying to the examiner, I think it's a 60 mph road. You could be, the examiner's not there to sort of second guess what you're thinking, but if you're doing 60 in a 70, the examiner might think, oh, they're not really confident at doing 70. So you have to demonstrate that you can do 70 on a 70 mph road if it's safe. And if that means you need to overtake as well, then you should, when it's safe, get on with it and overtake these vehicles that are doing 60 in front of you and get yourself up to the 70 mph speed limits if it's safe. Now, what sort of speed could you get away with on a dual carriageway so you don't get marked down? Again, assuming it's nice and clear and safe, I would say around 67. The moment you start going to 66, 65, there's a chance the examiner's going to mark you down. I would say if you're doing 65, 66 in a 70, if I was the examiner, I'd be marking you down with just a driving fault. But if you're doing 60 in a 70 for a long period of time, I'm afraid most examiners would probably give you a serious fault for that. So it doesn't have to just be on dual carriageways, it could be on country roads, doing 30 in a 40, or 35 in a 50. But another one is just town driving. 30 mph roads, if you're doing 20 for a long period of time, what's the examiner thinking? Is this person got the confidence to do 30 in these built up areas? Does this person think it's a 20 mph road? But by doing 30, if it's safe to do 30 of course, you're showing the examiner you know the speed limits and you have the confidence to do that speed on that particular road. Don't go from one extreme to another on your driving test as well. So I've often seen learners, well I wouldn't say often, but I'll give you one example. I was teaching a Russian lady years ago. For most of the lessons she was a qualified driver, she was just taking a test so she could legally drive in England. And for most of her lessons she was driving around like a maniac. It was for about 10 hours I was teaching her. The most used word was slow down, what's the speed limit? And she was a mentalist, just driving really fast all the time, so I really sort of struggled to control her speed until it got just towards the end of her lessons when she was taking a test and she started to sort it out. So anyway, on the day of her test, I'm like saying to her, look, just do exactly what you did in the last lesson, that was perfect, don't change anything. Bearing in mind all the other lessons, I'm saying slow down, you nutter. Anyway, she goes to take a test, comes out of the test centre, turns right onto Wally Drive, and she's driving on a 30-mile-per-hour road and she's doing 20, maybe I think even 15 miles an hour. She's just pottering along, and it took us ages to get down this long straight road. The examiner's looking at the back, looking at me, sort of almost grinning, like, because I don't think he's ever gone down that road so slowly. I'm sort of like, what is she doing? And obviously she failed for it, unfortunately. She passed second time round. The worst part about it was after about 15 minutes she started to demonstrate the proper speed limits, and but for the first 10 minutes something, you know, in her brain was sending signals to her hand and feet, and she was just doing crazy slow speeds. So that's one. That's an example of someone just changing suddenly before their test. So whatever you do, just listen to your instructor as you approach your test, and whatever they say, if they say your speed's good, don't change anything, then just listen to your instructor and you should be fine. The next one is undue hesitancy, or undue hesitation on the marking sheet. So on your driving test, obviously you're going to be nervous, and sometimes this causes hesitation, which is normal, and the examiners do expect a little bit of hesitancy under nerves. So I always say to learners, look, I'd rather you be slightly hesitant than rash and making quick decisions that you're not 100% about. So always be 100% in your decision making. So if you're not sure, then just hold back. But you can't go over the top and miss lots of opportunities, especially at roundabouts. It is quite dangerous sitting at junctions like roundabouts and missing lots of opportunities, because vehicles will start to become frustrated, or if they're not paying attention, they'll hit you from behind. So you have to have the balance right, where you're not too hesitant, but you've got enough confidence to go when it's safe. If you miss the odd opportunity, I wouldn't worry yourself too much. But you will need to demonstrate quite regularly that you can emerge out of these junctions safely without missing too many opportunities. If my best advice to you to help you on the approach to these junctions, so you're not so hesitant, is checking the junction earlier and timing your approach. So if you time your approach, so by the time you get to the roundabout, you haven't stopped, then you'll have that momentum to then emerge onto the roundabout nice and quickly, and there'll be less chances of stalling, and you'll be able to accelerate and pull away quicker as well. So it's always easier to move out of junctions, if you can, with some momentum rather than being stationary with a handbrake on. So to do that, you're going to have to check the junction nice and early, keep looking ahead as well, making sure the car in front has emerged or he's out of your way. But you want to be checking early, and it's the old saying, early vision, early decision. And if you do that regularly, then by checking, your brain will send signals to your feet to slow down, and then obviously you can choose the appropriate gear to then pull away when you get the opportunity. Obviously sometimes you will need to stop, but if you try and work on that approach so it's nice and gradual, then that should help you a little bit. I hope that's helped on the question, can you fail your driving test for driving too slowly? And I wish you all the best if you've got a test coming up.